We were recently invited out by Loch Leven Equine practice to see one of their vets in operation. The practice was established in 2005 to provide horse owners with a dedicated equine veterinary service across Kinross-shire, Perthshire and Fife. They aim to provide all of their clients with a friendly and compassionate service while striving for the highest level of clinical care for the horses and ponies entrusted to the practice. Here's how the day went.
Has he been eating okay?
Yeah, he's been fine. He was done because of the sarcoid thing and I wasn't riding him, so
first we're just wanting to look at his incisors and see what they're like. Make sure they're nice and square and there is no slant to one side or another. He's got a slight overbite, this guy, but he's got a nice square set of incisors and they look nice and healthy. We're going to be a good lad today. Good boy. Good man. So what else have you done with your week off?
running about all over the place. I'm selling my wee truck, so
good boy. Good boy.
Cleaning it up and just so I can't believe it's there.
I'm just going to give his mouth a quick flush out, okay. The joys of being covered in stuff. Good man. The moment I'm just checking all 4 arcades of his back teeth, just looking at the surfaces, making sure there's nothing I need to be more diligent over. So I'm looking for caries within the teeth, I'm looking for any possible fractures of the teeth, and I'm looking for what the actual grinding surface looks like. This guy was done with June, and he's actually pretty good. There's only really a few rough edges formed on the inside of his lower arcades and the top of the back of his upper arcades. So really, he shouldn't take too long to rasp. And there's nothing else abnormal to feel or see in this mouth. The other things we look for are diastemas between the teeth that can start fairly innocuously but then end up quite a severe problem. So just start with the top arcade very gently and slowly to start with while he gets used to what I'm doing. Come on, matey, go. You're not going to play today. Good boy. The real thing with this that we've got to be careful of is these rasps are very, very sharp, and what we do not want to do is cut his mouth while we're rasping his teeth. And if he throws his head around too much, there is always a chance that we are going to do that. Come on, mate. I think I'm going to end up giving him a bit of juice. Should we just do it? I'm just going to give him a little bit of sedation. I just don't want to, as I say, slice his mouth when he's moving his head around. Just giving him 2 drugs. One is a sedation, the other one is really a pain relief. They've got thumpingly massive jugulars that stick out. And so usually it's very, very difficult to miss them. We won't bother him for 30 seconds. Yeah, let's have a look while he's going to sleep. That there does not look like granulation tissue to me. That looks like sarcoid to me. Let's get some photos. It looks more like a fibroblastic sarcoid to me, that now. Different type than what you started with, but that is what it looks like.
come into fly weather too.
And that's why I think, to be honest with you, we've got to get on with this, because irrespective of summer or not, that is open, and that is discharge, and the flies will go straight for it, straight in. So I think we crack in, we get it done. If we've got to modify what we're doing with him in the short term, fine.
Yeah,
okay.
It's got to be right.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, boy, back to these.
What did you think?
Good man. Good boy, my lad. Good boy. Again, I don't want to rasp when he's moving his head, because I just don't want the possibility of cutting his tongue or cutting his gums. So just take our time, and generally when you've given them some sedation and you start, they will relax back down into it after a few seconds. Some do, some don't. The great thing about these guys up here is they have their teeth done so regularly that it generally usually is a tidy up. I think everybody does teeth differently and have their own systems of doing them. I do mine as systematically as I can, and I always do the bottom arcades to start with and then go to the top arcades after that. But probably the most difficult bit of it are the last two top teeth, because they've got a slight curve to them, and in a lot of horses there's not a lot of room in their mouths, so you've got to use a narrower rasp to get in and around the back of these teeth, because it tends to be where you get your worst points that cause most of the ulceration. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good lad. Now that I've got everything nice and smooth, I just really want to check that I've got the mouth as level as I possibly can, and make sure there's not any edges that are sticking up that will stop or hinder the movement of his jaw, chewing backwards and forwards. Right. Okay, fella. Good boy. Good. Right. Nothing to eat for the next hour, okay? We don't like them to eat after we've sedated them, because their esophagus generally stops moving. And the last thing you want is a load of food lodged in their esophagus, because they'll choke. If you told me you'd done these 3 or 4 months ago, I would have believed you. You've got sharp points to take off, but nothing amazing at all. Good boy. The problem with being short like me is whenever they decide to put their heads in the air, you definitely know you're vertically challenged. Good man. So am I. Good lad. Is your horse going to go in the food chain?
Hopefully not.
We need to sort out the back of your passport.
straight. I don't really know this horse, but it stands in the corner feet. It puts his head on the ground. It's like it has a fit.
This horse.
It goes into space. Oh.
This horse has got the biggest lump in its mouth. This is very odd. I don't like this.
I'll get her.
Get her to give me a phone. Okay. So you had flu and tetanus last year, so it just flew this year. Good lad. Come on. Zach doesn't like me very much. Zach does bolt on his back on me all day. He knows exactly who I am and exactly what I do.
With his teeth, I've noticed he's been a bit funny with his food. He's been knocking his food out quite a lot and wanting to eat off the floor.
Okay.
And he's been eating his haylage a bit funny.
Has there been balls of haylage dropped on the ground in the morning? So if you come down, is there sort of like chewed balls anywhere?
No, I've noticed. He usually does finish it. It's
he
just
does.
When he's kind of eating it, he's like, yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, he's not, sometimes I'll come in and his food's all over the place. And because he's on like anti-lam and he's getting supplement in his food, it's like...
You want to make sure that he's actually getting it. Let's give you a vaccine, boy. Good man. That's my fella. Good lad. This is the fun bit, isn't it? This is the fun bit. A lovely set of incisors, bless him.
Oh no.
But there's now that's where he keeps his cigarette.
I know.
Worn there, but they're actually very square, so you're not going to do anything about that at all. There's no way you're going to level those up anymore. How am I looking through? 23.
23, is it?
Good boy.
There's a couple of sharp points on this top left-hand side,
Right.
and there is a bit of ulceration where they're sitting. Okay, and that could be the reason he is doing that. I think there's more what I'm worried about at this point in time.
Right. Because you're getting them all today.
This is becoming, well, I don't know if we'll get better at picking them up, but certainly they'll, I think we need to do a little bit more with these. I'm just going to go and get a little probe and I'm just going to see how far down. Just give me 2 seconds and I will, because he's not going to like this very much. Okay, right, that's about 10 mils. What this horse has got, and they're starting to form between his teeth, are what we call diastemas. And it's a gap between generally the base of the teeth, so the top of the teeth, which these are valve diastemas, so the top of the teeth sit together and at the base where the gum line is, there's a gap, and food as the horse eats is being forced into this gap, but because the gap is a closed gap, it sits there and it festers and it rots, so consequently it rots the gum. Now to start with, it will affect the gum line and it will affect the gingiva, but then as time goes on and the pockets become bigger because of the infection that's been caused, it will start affecting the ligament that holds a tooth in place, and this is when it starts to get very painful for the horse. And there is a few ways of dealing with these. And as you can see, as I'm pressing on these pockets, this horse is reacting. He is not happy with what I am doing. So we've got to try and get the infection out of these. Usually what happens with these, the first thing is they start to eat a bit slower. You get a bit of a smell when you've got their mouth open, and then they start to struggle eating long fibre. And grass they never usually have a problem with because it's nice and soft. You really have 3 options when they start getting bad. One option is you flush out each and every pocket, and you try and get some antibiotic, or this is what I've started doing, put antibiotic into the pocket to try and get the gum healing. So your next step will be a real infection of these gums.
It's not something it's just something to share or Cushing.
What I would start off doing with this is getting them flushed. There's one that I think you might have to, because the second way of dealing with them is what's called a diastema Dremel, where your tooth is sitting like that, and you get a drill piece and you make a hole like this. So you've got a channel through there, so the food doesn't stick in there, it moves through. The difficulty with it is that the horse's tooth has got lots of pulp cavities sitting around it, and there's one, say those two teeth are sitting together, you've got one here and you've got one there, and so what you do not want to do is go into that pulp cavity, because if you do, you've killed that tooth. Simple as. So it's pretty intricate, and you've got to be very, very careful when you're doing them.
Is that done sedated standing?
Sedated standing, but I tend to have them into me to do them, because
and is that because Cheryl has obviously no insurance on him for as well because of his age, you know?
As
far as I'm, that's right, isn't it?
It's not thousands, you know, a couple of £100.
All right, okay, okay.
What you have to do with them, you've got to make sure they're static and still. So I'll always nerve block their jaw. They're in the stocks, they're very well sedated. I tend to give them morphine because it can be a painful procedure and you want them not to move. And I also anaesthetise their jaw so they can't feel what I'm doing. Okay. We're giving him his vaccine today. This is just a booster vaccine, a yearly vaccine, because he's had his first, second and third vaccine. So we've got to just make sure we do it within the 365 days, otherwise we've got to start them off again. So generally we give them a flu, which is first jab, a month later and 6 months after that. After that they go into yearly. Tetanus, they need a first and a second tetanus. They need to be boosted within 18 months, and then it's every 2 years depending upon what vaccine you use. There's one vaccine that you only need to do every 3 years, but we tend to use the ones that tetanus is every 2, but this guy had tetanus last year, so it's just flu this time. So it's an intramuscular vaccine, pop it into his muscle and he shouldn't really feel what we're doing. So I always go on the left hand side just because I am so right-handed and I can't really cope if I'm not on this side of the horse. So I just give his skin a little bit of a pinch so he doesn't feel the needle going in. He did slightly there, but as easy as that, not a problem at all. And usually there is no problems with them, but we've got to make sure the vaccines are stored at the right temperature, so I've got a fridge in the car to make sure that happens, and we've just got to make sure that they're properly looked after, because the one thing you don't want is the vaccine not working or causing a reaction because it's not being kept properly.
Does he need the day off tomorrow? Or?
I would probably give him today off. I don't mind him doing something tomorrow as long as he's not sweating like a mule. That's your section 9. So this is a bit we've got to fill out here. Okay. So we will
look at all the I'm just telling you that. Look, he's got all this stuff going on. Now, remember he had mites?
Yeah, I do.
So I'm thinking
but that's healing, because you showed me that last time. That's getting better.
I know, but the rest of them aren't. Now that's rug rub, so I'm just fussed about that. He's got... Is that all the same stuff, do you think? Look at this. This is a new patch, I think.
Hold on, let me just have a look at, because... But the other one, they look dead. We've had more mites and lice this year than I can ever remember.
But he suffers from brain delusion.
What, me or the horse?
I wondered about Cushing's.
I'd be surprised if he hasn't.
Don't tell him that. I just thought. Really? Why?
His age, what he looks like, the coat.
And yet his coat was shiny as anything.
The coat can be the last thing that goes. I mean, each Cushing horse you see, it displays different clinical signs. Some just drink a lot and pee a lot.
Well,
some get laminitis, some get coat changes, some get distribution of fat differently, so they just look like they're getting a wee pop belly.
And what Cushing's the disease of? Liver?
No, it is a tumour that sits in their head, so a pituitary gland tumour, but it affects the adrenal glands that sit either side of the kidney, and it very much allows them to turn on and produce lots and lots and lots of steroid. And so your body is fairly much chucking out boatloads of natural steroid.
Right, okay.
It's really easy to test for. All you need is one blood sample, and you look for the hormone ACTH and you see how high that is, and depending on how high that is, very much tells you if you have or not.
And then what's treatment?
Treatment is something called Perthshire, which up until recently wasn't licensed for use in horses, and it was, I think it's a Parkinson's treatment, or I can't remember quite what, in humans, but it works to stop the release of the ACTH.
And is that a daily administration
dose? Now the problem that we've had recently, because it is now licensed for use in horses and we've got a human version of it, a horse version of it, that's the one we've got to use.
Right, okay.
Because we can't, because of the cascade system, we've got to use it because it's licensed. We can't use the cheaper version that you can get from the chemist for. So it is, I'd have to get a price for you.
Because at 31, there's a bit of me that says,
why am I doing it? Yes.
But I don't want him to be...
The real thing I think they suffer with Cushing's more than anything else, and I could be wrong because I'm not a horse, is laminitis. That's which he's not had, and that is more the problem we see with Cushing's than anything else.
Well, let's do his teeth and see what difference that makes. I mean, look, feel him. Bless him.
Yeah, I know, he has. I'm going to tell you something you don't want to hear.
Oh, come on now.
I'm going to be absolutely categorical with you. The reason he's not chewing is not because we have got a painful spot in his mouth.
What has he got?
His teeth now, because of his age, are so smooth
I wondered about
that he is actually struggling to chew anything.
So we're on to slosh now.
I'm afraid we are.
We'll have more from the team at Loch Leven Equine Practice on a regular basis, and we'll keep you up to date with lots more to follow. If you would like a particular topic covered, then please let us know.